Hello, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Dr. Mark Foster Show. Today I will talk about the subject of psychic phenomena and why I think that, generally speaking, psychics have a tendency to be wrong. A lot of people have made predictions about when the great catastrophe or disaster, in some cases the rapture, the return of some eminent figure, people who are unaware, for example, of the coming of Baha'u'llah. And these predictions have simply sailed by and nothing has happened. Of course, the most recent thing in people's memories, I suppose, is 2012, December 20th or 21st or 22nd, 2012, when there were all sorts of predictions of what might happen. A mass solar event, in some cases as far as the actual destruction of the world. And of course that year went by and now people have been left with the necessity of cleaning their own words up, of reinterpreting what they said, or perhaps coming up with new explanations for that event last year in 2012. Similarly, right now there are a lot of people, as of this time, which is May 19th of 2012, who are predicting that by the end of this month there will be mass disasters. Some people are predicting tsunamis, earthquakes, volcanism of various sorts, perhaps even meteors, asteroids, whatever, hitting the Earth, impacting having tremendous impacts on societies globally. And as of right now, obviously it hasn't happened. One of these soothsayers predicted yesterday as being the date. Someone else, a person named Ph.D, is predicting tomorrow as being the date. One other person, Courtney Brown, said by June 1st, but then a few months ago he released a YouTube video in which he said that as he saw it, that these events would in fact most likely not happen at all. And he referred to the Russian asteroid strike of a few months ago, and Courtney Brown believes in this multiple timelines model, and according to him, we simply had a different timeline, and that anticipated event with mass disasters was simply manifested in our timeline by that asteroid, and that Courtney Brown did not think it was likely that any other thing would happen between then and the end of this month. Well, of course that contradicts what he said earlier. Previously to that, he had said that the events were so strong and were indicated by multiple people looking at supposedly multiple timelines that it would appear that it would happen no matter which timeline people are on. Very commonly, people, especially people who are reasonably intelligent, and Courtney Brown is a professor of applied mathematics at Emory University, which I suppose would make him a very intelligent individual, will get to the point and will say, well, gee, I better find some way of getting out of this. And I've noticed that since that time, Dr. Courtney Brown has not made any further predictions. Whether he will in the future, I don't know, but still Cliff High is making that prediction based on his so-called web bot. If you want to go there, it is at halfpasthuman.com, and if you Google Half Past Human or Google Cliff High, CLIFHIGH, you will find him very quickly. There are also a lot of other websites which follow and track and attempt to interpret Cliff High's data, including at least 2 message boards that I am aware of. Now, here's the problem as I see it. Aside from the fact that so far none of these predictors, none of these soothsayers have been right in recent years, perhaps never. At least not in terms of precisely when a supposed apocalypse would happen. Here is basically what I wrote. This is in my book, which is Unific Evolution. I will read that and I will follow it with a quotation by Shoghi Effendi, the guardian of the Baha'i Faith, writing through his secretary. To begin, it is impossible, in my opinion, for ordinary individuals to reliably predict the future. That, I think, is a very important statement. I'll read it again. To begin, it is impossible, in my opinion, for ordinary individuals to reliably predict the future. People try and try again. New apocalyptic proclamations are being made from day to day. None have panned out. The reason, I think, is statistical. Perhaps the law of probability will be irrelevant in the world to come. However, all that exists in the future from a linear human perspective is a sea of probabilities. We are confronted throughout our lives with tides of options and events. The waves issuing from a single decision can alter everything. Indeed, any change in flow, no matter how slight, might result in an entirely different outcome. In other words, I am presenting a basically statistical explanation for why I don't think that psychic predictions from a human perspective work. Now, that has nothing to do with prophecies being given by people who are directly inspired by God, or by prophets who are manifestations of God. The prophets of God are actually revealing what they are. People who are inspired, like, for example, Abdul Baha, the son of the founder of Baha'u'llah, of Baha'i Faith, Baha'u'llah, was directly inspired by Baha'u'llah, so he has been guaranteed some level of guidance in these events. But for us, we have no guarantee of guidance. We're just regular folks. And so when we are looking at the future, we are looking at probabilities. And even from a particular moment, if, say, it appears as though something will happen, say a person gets a kind of so-called premonition that this is going to happen at a certain date, at a certain time of the day, and it will play out like this. Well, between the moment that the person is making the prediction and the time when the prediction is going to allegedly unfold, many, many things happen. Loads of unpredictable decisions are made. Many, many events transpire which were simply not anticipated by anyone. And any one of those events or decisions can and most likely will completely derail the prediction. That is why I think that since we are living in this linear world, this world where one thing follows another thing in a linear progression, it is impossible to make these kinds of predictions with any degree of reliability. Here, in fact, is what Shoghi Effendi said in a letter written to an individual Baha'i, and it is cited in Lights of Guidance. It was dated February 24th, 1947. He, Shoghi Effendi, feels that the methods you are pursuing in regard to receiving inspired written messages and your way of approaching your painting are really psychic, and that you should give them up for your own good. Some of Baha'u'llah's and Abdu'l-Baha's tablets are so poorly translated that it is almost impossible to grasp the true meaning, and one is misled into thinking that by getting into a practically psychic state, the Holy Spirit will guide one. This is not what is meant. The world's greatest writers and painters have not been under psychic influence, but through innate ability, practice, and study, have given us their masterpieces. This is the normal way for inspiration to reach us, through the channels of our own abilities, and not through control by forces, which the Master, Abdu'l-Baha, warned us against, and which we do not understand, and which, as you yourself know, are neither consistent nor reliable. I think that last part of the sentence is the most important one, at least to me. Are neither consistent nor reliable. Do they work sometimes? Yeah, I guess. Perhaps. Some psychic predictions may have taken place. But the fact that most of them appear not to have taken place, I think should be a wake-up call. Recently, the psychic Sylvia Browne was attacked, and I think justifiably, for having made a prediction a number of years ago that people who were being imprisoned in a home in Ohio were dead, or at least this one person in the group was dead. I think Browne said something like, "She is not the kind of person who would not call." Well, of course, it turned out recently that she, along with two other people and the person's child, were discovered in the person's home. One person managed to escape. There was a 911 call made, and there was a police rescue. Sylvia Browne was contacted by numerous sources. At least last I could tell, she was not returning any phone calls. The Montel Williams show, which used to be her forum, that show is no longer in production. They also were not returning phone calls. Well, that is understandable. Nobody likes to be wrong. For many people, making psychic predictions is a way of making a living. If you are shown to be a fraud, or at least shown to be inaccurate in certain cases, well, that's not going to do much to help your bottom line. Now, I'm not saying that that is necessarily what was going on inside Sylvia Browne's mind, or inside the minds of the people in the production team to the Montel Williams show, but generally speaking, I think that people who make these kinds of predictions, or soothsayers in other words, should be viewed with tremendous skepticism, and it is best for us to focus on our own lives. If we are Baha'is, to look at the warnings, the very clear warnings that have been given in the Baha'i texts, the promises of what will happen in the wake of those horrendous catastrophes that will at some point overtake the planet, and not to worry about the predictions of soothsayers, because inevitably there are going to be mistakes. Until next time, this is Dr. Mark Foster. Have a good one.